Good afternoon and good morning. Welcome to Friday's edition of Colour Me Happy, where we've got 2 hours jam-packed full of all things colourful. Now, within these 2 hours, we're going to be featuring our Inkpads. Maybe you've seen Wake Up Call. Hopefully you've seen Wake Up Call, where we give you a little bit of a tease, a little bit of a preview as to what to expect, not only just within Colour Me Happy, but also at the end of the day, where I'm going to be in the studio all on my own. However, we are going to have Tiffany coming all the way across from Arizona via the wonderful world of technology. So we've got 2 hours of lots of storage ideas. So when it comes to that show, as well as this show, the best place to go is, of course, onto the website and shop the day. You're going to find so many items across there that we've been featuring throughout, well, today, funny enough. And what you're also going to find while you're across on the website, with it being Friday as well, we've got Fiver Friday. So that means we've got a plethora of items that are £5, $5 or €5. And it's not just little tiny little things. You've got flower forming, you've got cardstock, you've got create a card dies, you've got stamps, you have also got some of your soft craft items as well. We have got some ink pads there as well. Have a look, it's all there for you to see. As I say, yes, the best place is Shop the Day. However, while you are there, do also have a look at that full banner that's all about Tiffany and organisation, because this whole week has been all about that organisation here on Crafters TV in conjunction with Tiffany. So lots of exciting fab deals across there to be had. However, this is all about Colour Me Happy. And if you did see Wake Up Call, you will know that we have got the one, the only, that's incredible with lots of different techniques when it comes to colouring, mixed media, or just crafting in general. It is, of course, it's Jan, back together again.
Good afternoon. Here we are back together again, and I'm getting used to this now. I'm getting spoiled. So yes, we've got lots and lots of information for you this afternoon. So pads and pens at the ready, maybe. We're going to do quite an in-depth look into the ink pads and look at the differences between them, what they do, which cardstocks are the best to use with them, before we actually go on to any demoing. And then I've got lots of things lined up with the products that we've got on the show to demo for you as we go through the afternoon. Yes, so looking forward to it, Craig.
It's going to be good. It's going to be really, really good. Now, you can get your comments through, any questions that you're wanting to ask Jan. We had some really good questions coming up within Wake Up Call. So when it comes to the technique basis of what Jan's showing you, maybe you're just not sure about something, you want to ask again or just want to clear something up, then fire them across. We've got Rachel that was on Wake Up Call, and she's on Colour Me Happy as well. So send them across either via Facebook or, of course, YouTube, and then we will read them out throughout the show as well. I tend to do the questions in little sections so we don't interrupt Jan too much when it comes to the demonstrations, because I know that's what you love to see. Now, if it's Colour Me Happy and it's all about ink pads, it means we're going to have some ink pads on the show, aren't we? And we have got exactly that. Now, we've got a few options for you. So if you want to go for a great big bundle, I'll go over that just in a moment or two. It is a considered purchase, but you've got a couple of extras with that. What we will do to start with is we have got 3 separate bundles. Now, we've got one quick dry, we've got one pigment, and we've got one water reactive. So what we'll do is, if you want to go for a 10-pack of your pigment ink pads, so this is your opaque pigment ink pads, we've got it here for you. Now, all 3 bundles, although I will go over each of the prices, they're all exactly the same for all 3 bundles. £40 or $60. Platinum comes down to £32 or $48. You guys, Central Europe, you just need to go onto your website. It works out that you're going to get these at £4 an ink pad. They're worth $5.99 on their own, but £4 an ink pad. That's exceptional value. Now, for you guys stateside, it does work out $6. But this is the 10 that you're going to be getting when it comes to your pigment ink pads, because you do get different colours within each of the bundles. You have got Bordeaux. So you've got your Bordeaux, you've got your Parakeet, you've also got your Oasis, you've got Plum Jam, you have got Fuchsia, you've also got Pink Tulip, you've also got Chinese Red, you've got Honey Pot, you've also got your Straw Bale, and then you've got Damson Wine. All 10 of them £40 or $60, £32 or $48 for you guys stateside. As we say, they are £5.99 each, and here in the UK it does work out that you're getting each of these ones for £4 or $6, which is exceptional. Briefly as well to say, if you do see where it says Craft Along 10 piece, what does that mean? It refers back to these bundles were put together really well for our Angel Collection Craft Along. So if you do want to go back and watch the Angel Collection Craft Along on our YouTube, these bundles are going to work absolutely perfect. But of course, if you've seen Wake Up Call, you know you'll be able to do so much more than just your Craft Along colour coordination with these ones. So that's your pigment. What we can do now is we can have a look at the quick dry. Now your quick dry are once again 10 pack, same price, £40, $60, £32 or $48 if you are platinum. The colours do change slightly. You've got some that will work and match what we've just showed you in the pigment. However, the colours within these ones, they are different overall. So you've got your ocean blue. Then you've also got your plum jam. We've got lemon tonic. We've got lagoon. We've also got orange. We've also got fuchsia. We've got misty mornings. We've got oasis. We've got baby blue. And then we've also got pink tulip as well. So that is the 10 that you're going to be getting when it comes to the quick dry. So once again, £40 or $60. But if you're platinum, that's then going to come down to £32 or $48. Once again, they are worth $5.99 each as well. And at that price, you're going to get quick dry individually. It works out at £4 or $6. And then when it comes to, we've got a few Inkpad collections within our ranges, but for me, when it comes to the three main ones within our crafty stash, we've also got our water reactive. So once again, you're getting another 10 pack here, £40, $60. Same platinum, £32 or $48. And within your water reactive, you're going to be getting your anthracite. So you're getting your anthracite, you're getting your smoked pearl. You're also going to be getting your parakeet. These are all water reactive, remember. You're getting grasshopper. You're getting crushed velvet. You're also getting twilight grey. You're getting sandstorm. You're getting pumice. You're getting seal brown. And then you're also getting spa blue. All 10 of them, £40, $60, or a platinum price of £32 or $48. Then I did refer to there being a big bundle, and that's exactly what we've got for you. So we do have the option to go for a big bundle. Now, when it comes to that, what you're actually going to get is you're going to get all 30 of the Inkpads. So you're getting the 10 in the water reactive, 10 in the quick dry, and 10 in the pigment. So it's these 10, 30 altogether that you're going to be getting. Now, you do need to pop them all into your basket individually. Now, the great thing with this as well, so yes, it's a consider purchase. You can get them all for $120 or £120 or $180. That actually still works out that you're getting that today's price as they were individually. So it's a really good saving. So if you were to go for this one in other terms, you're still going to get them at £4 in Inkpad or $6. With going for that full bundle, what you can do is add each three of these in individually. However, automatically, for free, you will also get your translucent clear Inkpad. Now, you don't need to do anything. That will automatically get added to your basket. Nicola tried it just before we went live, so we can assure you that it does automatically get into your basket. So you'll see that when you do it yourself. So add each of these individually. With that detail, the prices for each of these ones, you get your translucent clear free, but also you're going to get 100 extra bonus points as well, completely free. So that's a really, really good kind of addition that you're going to be getting. If you choose to go for the bigger bundle, you get your 30 plus your translucent clear and 100 extra bonus points. So it's a really, really, really good deal. Understand, consider purchase, but at least you've got the smaller bundles if you so wish. So it's entirely up to you. Right, we have got Pamela's in saying, my pen and paper is ready to make notes. I do need to. She's also saying, what was the one before the pink tulip? Don't worry, For those that annoy you now, stop doing it. Well, I tend to do it maybe once a day. I've done it within Wake Up Call, and that is it. We've got Jodie's in, Felicia's in, we've got Lynette's in, Sarah Brown's in. Carol is in, saying good afternoon from Fife in Scotland. Well, hello to you, Carol. Jeannie is saying good morning. Terry Anderson saying hello, everyone. We've got Via saying good morning from Philly. Christine Mahoney's in saying hello again, everyone. And we've also got Eva Joyner is saying good morning from San Antonio, Texas. This will be a great refresher for me. And that's a good point. Maybe you're new to us. Maybe you're new to our Inkpads. This is going to be a nice starter. Or maybe you've been crafting with us for quite a few years and you're going to use today's show as a little bit of a refresher. Good way to do that. Any questions, comments, get them coming through. Any additional items that you see Jan use, and Charlotte will pop up on the bottom of the screen. I won't jump in too much because we like to see what Jan's doing, and selfishly, I do as well. So that's why we tend to do it as well. But lovely show earlier on, Jan, with Wake Up Call, but now we're really delving into the 2-hour focus of Colour Me Happy and Inkpads.
Yeah, because we've got that extra, well, not extra time, we've got the same time, but this is actually devoted to the colouring side of our process. So yeah, we said we'd actually do a more of an in-depth look at the Inkpads. So I'm going to cover everything that we've got on the show today as far as Inkpads are concerned. The only thing that we don't have on at the moment is the brand new shimmer Inkpad. So I'm not going to touch on those. If you're watching this morning, I did actually say that I haven't had a chance to work with those yet. So I'm not prepared to discuss things that I haven't had a play with. I don't doubt for a minute that they will be exactly the same quality, if not better than what we're already working with. But I do need to have a play and see how they behave and see how they compare. So I'm not going to include these in this particular look at Inkpads today, purely because we don't have them on the show. So what I'm going to do then, just to start off, and I've done this a couple of times now on shows, and it's been received quite well because you can actually screenshot what I'm going to do here. So I've got my piece of card out, and I'm just going to explain where all the Inkpads fit into that collection. So for those of you that are new to us, Spectrum Noir is actually a branch of Crafters Companion. It's our colouring sort of area. So anything that relates to colour, whether it be the Inkpads or the pens or the sparkle inks, anything like that that's a colouring medium comes under the heading of Spectrum Noir. So we've got all the artist kits, things like that. It is just a sub-heading under Crafters Companion. So what I'm going to do now under that heading is look at the different types of Inkpads. So first of all, we have got our Harmony Inkpads. I'm going to talk about those in detail. We've also got our Finesse Inkpads. And we've also got our Midas Inkpads. Okay, so under the Harmony one, we've got 3 different sections.
Okay.
All right, so we have got the quick dry. And if you were watching this morning, we've touched on these very briefly, but I'm going to do a bit more detail. We've also got the opaque pigment.
Right.
And we've also got the water reactive.
Okay.
So those 3 Inkpads come under the heading of our Harmony range. And if I just bring them in there, you can see them. We've got water reactive, we've got the quick dry and the opaque, and I'll come back to these in a second.
Okay.
The finesse inks are more of what I tend to refer to. So these are sort of, if I just put up here that there are 36 colours in the Harmony range. Okay, so 36 in the quick dry, 36 in the water reactive, 36 in the opaque. It's the same colour family across the board. So the same 36 colours here as what you'll get here. Yes, you can mix and match them for different uses. We'll talk about that in a second. And I did say earlier that the opaque ones were slightly lighter shades of the same colour families, purely because of the makeup of that opaque ink. Finesse, as I say, I tend to refer to as my stamping inks. So when I say stamping, I mean stamping out outlines. So if you want line art to colour in, or if you want, you can use them for stamping sentiments and things like that. So the Finesse range comes in 2 different sections. So we've actually got alcohol proof. Okay, and we've got waterproof. So there's two clear sort of sections on here. The alcohol proof, and we've tried to make this as easy as possible. You know, when I worked in the store, Craig, this was probably the question that I got asked the most, was which ink pad do I need for which job? So we've tried to make this as easy as possible with our range at Spectrum Noir, and Leanne's done a lot of work with this. So alcohol proof dye means that you can use it with an alcohol marker and that outline line art won't bleed. So as long as you're using the right paper, and I'll talk about that in a second, this is not going to bleed when you put alcohol marker colouring against it. Right. Purely because it's water-based. So opposites attract. So if you're using an alcohol substance to colour, it is basically a water-based dye, alcohol-proof. It's not going to smudge. On the other side of the coin, we've got the waterproof, and we've tried to show that by putting a water brush on there to give you a clue. So if you're wanting to work with a water-based medium, for example, our aqua markers or the sparkle inks or something like that, you don't, again, want that line art to smudge. So a waterproof ink pad is a solvent-based. So again, opposites attract. If you're using a watercolour medium to colour with, you want a solvent-based ink that's not going to move when you start colouring in. So that's the clear split between the two of those. And then on the end here, the Midas ones are actually the metallic inks. Now we have a whole range of these, okay? There's lots of colours on the website. We brought 3 to you this morning, and I only have 2 left, according to our producer, Nicola. You all went and bought the gold one this morning, didn't you, when I'd been splattering with it? So we just have the bronze, and the blush is an absolutely gorgeous shade. I'll show you these on cardstock in a little while. So these are metallic pigment inks, and it says on here that they're okay for stamping with, for blending with, and for embossing with. I'll talk about the embossing aspect as we go through the ink pads. But yes, you can blend these using a blender. You can they stamp beautifully, and again, they're water-based, so they react with water. So when you've done your stamping, you can spritz it and it will move a little bit, lots of different techniques. And then right at the very end here, I'm actually going to put the watermark. Quite a good addition to your stash if you like heat embossing. So this is actually the translucent clear, and this is the one that you get free if you decide to invest in that big bundle today. We're going to pop you this one in for free. Now mine's not brand new, so it is a little bit discoloured. It comes to you nice and clean, and it is just a sticky ink with no pigment, no colour in it. And this is designed to stay wet long enough for it to attract the embossing powder for you to then heat set and melt it. So that one's sort of in a category of its own. It's called Watermark, and I'll put under here the translucent. Excuse my writing because I'm rushing with that.
Great chart, Jan. This is brilliant.
So I'm going to leave that there for a second, and if any of you want to take a screenshot of that, it just puts them into the categories. I'll just add on here, on this one, on Finesse, that there are 4 colours in the Finesse range. Midas, I'm not sure on the numbers on Midas. There is a considerable amount of them. I would say you're probably around about at least 10.
There's got to be.
If not a dozen or so different colours, but I will double check that. So if you want to take a quick screenshot of that, it just literally divides them into their sort of categories under that heading of Spectrum Noir with their titles of their sort of ranges. And then what we're going to look at is we're going to look at each one of these in a bit more detail. Okay?
Brilliant.
So I'm going to pop that out of the way. And we're going to bring in some of I'm going to start with the Harmony ones. We'll start at that left-hand side. And again, we've talked about these briefly this morning. If you were watching us on Wake Up Call, we did have a look at some of the properties of these earlier. But obviously, for the benefit of people that have joined us for the 2 o'clock show, we're going to go through this again now. So water reactive, quick dry, opaque. The first thing I want to point out is that you've got different coloured carriers on the packaging. So the water reactives are in a black case, the quick dries are in a purple case, and the opaque are in a brown case. So you can immediately recognise these if you've got them all stacked and you've got them mixed up, maybe you've got them all together, you can sort of pick out which one's which. They also come with the colours if I bring it that way so you can see there, on the edge of the ink pads. And these, to be honest, are a pretty good representation. Quite often when you start transferring colours to labels and plastic caps and things like that, they go a bit awry. You don't always get a true reflection, but I think these are actually a pretty good representation of the colours that are in the ink pads. So again, you know, kudos to Leanne with the team getting that right. Because sometimes with pens, I've looked at the caps and then you've had a go and they're a completely different colour. So what we're going to do then is we're going to start with good old water reactive, all right? And I said I was going to talk about cardstocks. So I've pulled out my 4 sort of pieces of cardstock that I use all the time.
Okay.
All right, so I've got Nina, I've got our multi-purpose card, I've got watercolour card, and I've got our matte black card. Okay, so these are the ones that I keep stock of, what I call my core card stocks that we use all the time. Now, if I'm going to be using alcohol markers, and I'm going to stamp with my alcohol-proof ink and colour in with a marker, I would go for the Nina cardstock.
Right.
And that's pretty much the only time I use Nina. I do keep that for my alcohol colouring. It's an excellent smooth cardstock. It's not as thick as some of the others. I think it's about 216, is it? GSM, I think, if I remember rightly. And it is perfect to get those alcohol markers on with the alcohol-proof ink. So I'll come back to that when we talk about the finesse inks. The multi-purpose card, the reason we renamed this multi-purpose is because you can use it for multiple projects. So not only will it make your card bases, you can die cut it, you can stamp on it, you can colour on it, you can blend on it, pretty much do anything on it, hence the multi-purpose. So when I'm blending with the water reactive inks or the pigment inks, I tend to use my smooth stamping card.
Okay.
All right, and we'll do a little bit of this. I'm just going to do a little bit of a demo for you with them in a second. If I'm going to be using any kind of watercolour product, so for example, I'm going to stamp an outline with my waterproof ink, and we're going to do this in one of the demos in a little while, and I want to colour with a watercolour medium, then I need that to stay in place, and I'm going to use my watercolour card. So you've heard me before talk about things being fit for purpose, and it's getting the card right makes these perform much, much better. Definitely. So if you're working really hard to blend with water reactive ink on watercolour card, you will use up, I'm not saying you can't do it, but you will use up much more ink because this is made to absorb moisture. So you're just going to waste your ink trying to move it around and blend it. All right, it is possible, but I prefer the smooth one. Okay, and then obviously the black, anything metallic will show up better on black. Okay, so I've just pulled the black card out to show you these two in a second. And these will work on white, but you'll get more of the pigment rather than the metallic. So you'll see more of the colour on white card as opposed to the metallic element. That shows up better. Doesn't have to be black, it can be brown, it can be navy, it can be dark grey. As a darker colour, you'll get that lovely shimmer from that metallic element that's in here. Okay? So that's just a quick word on cardstocks, and I'll come back to that as we do each stamp, each ink pad. So first of all, I'm going to start off with the water reactive, which I think is probably the most common, and it was the first one that we brought to you. This was the first range that Leanne designed, and we brought out water reactive. Now it says on here for blending and distressing. Okay? That's just bringing it into a manageable thing. It can do lots of other things, but basically blending and distressing. So blending, we've got our blending tools. Now I've got the round ones here. We do a rectangular one. I personally prefer the round ones, but again, that's just personal, you know, taste. I would say if you're starting out to try them both. Now I've actually got felt sponge applicator pieces for all the different coloured inks.
So do I, yeah.
I don't have a blender for each ink. No. I've got about a dozen blenders, so I mix them across, and I'll just pull these off as I need them, and then they just go back on with the hook and loop. So again, just load up that applicator, and the water reactive inks have got a really nice hard felt surface, so you've got no fear of damaging on there. So this is the pink tulip, and again, I tend to come in at a slight angle. So rather than have my ink applicator flat, I tend to stick it at a slight angle against it and come in from the edge of the card. And then as you get onto the card, you can slowly lower that pad down. And you can see how that card takes the ink. It's all been thought through, so you don't have to worry about whether you're doing the right thing. It's just all been thought through for you. All right, and you can see how beautifully that blends over that cardstock. And you get a nice seamless finish. Got little bits of my sponge coming off because pink's my favourite colour. It gets used most of all. So I think I'm probably about ready for a new blender on the end of this one. Okay, and then what we did earlier with it is we actually popped, the reason it says water reactive, I'm just going to pop a little bit of water on my glass mat there, and I'm going to bring in that fan brush again. And the reason we say it's water reactive is simply it reacts with water. So all I'm going to do is now pop some splatters of water over there and leave it. Okay, the longer you leave it, the better the result will be. And what happens is the water starts reacting with the ink and sort of interferes with it, and it pushes the ink out of the way. And if I lift this up now, let me just get rid of that excess off there. If I lift this up, you can see at the edge here where it's actually started moving the ink, and you can just see those speckles starting to form. So as I say, the longer you leave it, the more chance it's got to play around with the ink. But just for the case of TV, I'm going to blot it now and take off the excess moisture, and you can see how you get that beautiful kind of speckled effect. So if you're wanting to make backgrounds and just add that little bit of extra effect, that's the way to do it. Okay, now I'm going to show you a different way to do this when we get on to the next demo. So that's our water reactive, and that's probably the main thing that I use the water reactive inks for. Yes, you can stamp with them, so you can add the ink to your stamp, but you'll not get a really crisp outline like you would with the stamping inks. Okay, depends what you're looking for. The other thing that I like to do with these, and again we're going to do this later on, is you can use them to colour with. So we're going to apply ink to the glass mat and pick it up with a paintbrush to colour with, and I'm going to show you that in a separate demo. So if I come on to the pigment inks now, all right, so this is actually the Chinese red. I've just pulled some of these out of that bundle that the colours we'd got. These differ slightly in that this one's got a really soft, spongy base that the ink's captured in. This one was really hard and felt. This one's soft and spongy. It's just to do with the sort of mechanics of the ink, which I'm not an authority on. I don't know how they're made. I wouldn't know where to start making an ink. It's just the carrier for them. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to swap over to just a red applicator. And again, rather than rub this one like I did with the felt one, I'm going to be a bit more gentle with this because it's sponge. So I'm just dabbing in there to load up the applicator. And again, you can do the same techniques with the blending. So again, that red is really, if you're doing anything with poppies and things like that, the red is absolutely gorgeous. So you can see here again, just coating that smooth cardstock. I'm still working on the stamping. Oh, go on, Jan. The multi-purpose. I still want to call it stamping card because it's been that for years. Isn't it? Okay. So you can use it for this. All right. You can see that coverage there is really, really good. Now this stays wetter for longer. This one dries pretty much as soon as you've put it onto your paper. This one stays wetter, which means you can heat emboss over the top of it. So you can add your embossing powder and heat emboss it. We're going to do that later in one of the demos. Excellent. I've tried to break it down so that there's a bit of everything for you today. But this still reacts with the water. Because it's a water-based ink, you can still do that splatter technique. Oh gosh, I've gone a bit crazy with that one, but and again, leave it a bit longer, but you'll get a different reaction because this is not specifically designed for this technique. You will get a slightly different outcome. So again, just to blot it, It doesn't play with the ink the same way as the water reactive. Now, I don't know whether you can pick up here in the studio, but there is a tiny little bit of movement on there. If I hold it still for our Charlotte.
Coming in.
She's coming to have a nosy look. You can just see there's a little bit of blotchiness in there.
You can just pick that out.
Only just, but it hasn't done what it did with that water reactive ink. So again, it's about using the right ink for the right purpose there. And then the quick dry inks are literally what it says on the tin. All right, so as soon as these touch a porous surface like a cardstock, it dries pretty much instantly. All right, if I was to put it on my glass mat, it's going to stay wet. And again, I could pick this up and I could use it as a colouring medium. But the minute it goes onto cardstock, all right, and I'm actually going to show you this. I'm just going to grab one of my stamps from earlier. Let me just get rid of, forgive me for wasting the ink.
It's good to see it's really, really thorough going through the ink
So
pads.
I'm just going to grab the ones that I had earlier. And I'm just going to stamp out, we'll do the little balloon. And again, I'm going to improvise because I don't have my acrylic block. So I've just popped it on top of the ink pad as something to carry the stamp. And then this one, if we actually press this down and ink it, so it's gone onto that cardstock. The minute I take this away, it's literally dry. It's magic. I honestly don't know how it works.
It's magic.
But it does. So for stamping out things like sentiments, for stamping out layering stamps and things like that, these are excellent. And the fact that you've got the same colour family as the other two inks means that you can coordinate your sentiments with the rest of your project. So you can do, this was ocean blue. So if you worked with ocean blue to do this technique, you might want to go to slightly darker blue, the midnight blue, to do a quick dry sentiment over the top of it, for example. So many different ways. So that's the three Harmony inks that we were talking about today. So the water reactive, that beautiful pigment ink, and then the quick dry for stamping. So that's that first little bit. I'm just very quickly, I've said pretty much what I want to say about the others. I'm just going to show you some of the colours of the
yeah, please do.
The Midas. Okay, so pop those to one side. So going back to our chart, that was these three here and what they do and which cardstock. You can see that I went with the multi-purpose card for pretty much all of those. Okay, the Finesse, all right, was our stamping ink. So depending on what you're wanting to do, it is simply a case of, for example, stamping out line art. We're going to do that in one of the demos where we stamp out one of the stamps. And decide before you start working, are you going to colour with alcohol inks or are you going to colour with a watercolour medium, such as our aqua markers? And depending on what you want to colour with will dictate which one of these you use. Okay. And just go, if you can't remember the alcohol proof and the waterproof, just go with the pictures. You've got an alcohol marker on this one, you've got a water brush on this one. All right, so if you're alcohol colouring, you want this one. If you're watercolouring, you want this one. I said they came in 4 colours, so you can actually get a true black in both of these. You get the flagstone, which is the one that I often prefer. It's not quite, I find it not quite as harsh as the black ink on white card. Then you get pebble, and then you get rustic brown, which is, see, these are 2 shades of brown. So again, if you were stamping out something like a giraffe from one of our animal collections and you were colouring in predominantly browns, then stamping the line art in brown is quite helpful. I'm going to use the brown one when we stamp out later to do the watercolouring. So that's Finesse, okay, and then we've got the Midas. Now I've just got a couple of these here today that are in that bundle, and I'm going to bring the black card in, and I'm literally going to go direct to the actual cardstock.
Okay.
So I'm literally just going to build up some of that colour. I want to show you the shimmer on these, and I'm also going to do the same on the white, just to show you, because I said they behave differently on the white card. So you'll get some of the colour, but they're not quite, I don't think they're quite as shimmery on the white card once they've dried. So that was the bronze. And then we've got the blush, which has got a slight sort of rose pink hue to it. So again, pop it on there. Now this is Pigment ink, which is the same as what we were talking about with our red, which means that you can emboss over the top of it. It does stay wet long enough for you to emboss. And again, if I put that one on there, we'll have a little look closely at those and show you the difference. So on the black card, look at that shimmer. This one's still a wee bit wet. This one's just about dry. But just look at that shimmer on there with that metallic. So this one was bronze, and this one was that rose, sorry, the blush, which is like a rose pink. Now on the white card, they're still a wee bit wet. Where you can see the shimmer on here, it's because they're wet. Yeah? You'll get more, you can see where this one's dry, and you'll just get more of the pigment colour and not as much of the shimmer. So this side of the blush one's actually dried, and you can see there isn't anywhere near as much shimmer. So those are your colours against each other, and you can just see the difference in them. So again, it depends what kind of finish you're looking for, okay? And you can stamp, as I say, with these. You can put the inks to your stamps and get some really terrific results. And then the last one that I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to use a little bit of this later on, is that translucent one. So if you're wanting to stamp something and maybe add some gold embossing powder and heat set it, your clear sticky ink will just grab that embossing powder and keep it in place ready for you to heat emboss. Okay, so that's pretty much as far as I want to go as far as delving into them, but I'm going to go on and do some more demos where we use the respective ink pads to show you them to make a project. Okay?
Excellent.
Craig's knocking everything over there. I don't know what he's doing. You're juggling.
I've done so well.
He's making a nice display, look.
I was actually multitasking. Believe it or not, some guys can do that, because I had my little display that I was just setting up there, and I was catching what Jan was doing, and I was nice and quiet, and then right at the end there, I knock it all over. It was looking lovely. See, it was looking lovely a minute ago. I shouldn't have just
it looks very nice.
No,
oh, that one's got the light now.
There we go, that's a bit better.
Fabulous, look at that.
I just thought, because I've them sitting at the side of me for throughout the show, I thought, oh, I'll just do a little bit of a display so you can see. Wow, the way that you've just spent that time, I'd never seen your chart before. I've never seen you do that before.
Yeah.
Really, no,
it just brings it into perspective. There's different ways of learning. This goes back to the teaching. I'm not very good at listening to somebody and taking stuff in. I'm a writer. So, for example, if I was learning a poem, for example, and I listened to it, or someone saying it, or on the radio, it doesn't sink in. If I wrote out that poem, I can pretty much remember what I've written. Yeah? So I'm more of a sort of like, get on with it and do it. Okay? Some people are what we call auditory learners, where they listen to it and they can pick it up. Some people prefer to just get on and do it, and I'm one of those people that writing it out, I used to revise like that years and years and years ago when I took my exams. I used to write everything out, and then I just used to sit and picture what I'd written, and I could remember pretty much what I'd written out. So yeah, it's just different ways of doing it. So this to me, with the, writing it down, it just puts it, and you've got it to keep as well then.
Of course you do.
So you've got it as a reference point.
Yeah, you do it. And I know, you guys know, I know Harmony, Water, React, all the ink pads for the back of my hand.
Yeah.
But I know that if I didn't, and I was a bit confused, or I just wasn't sure, or something to refer back to, that for me would be invaluable.
Yeah.
It absolutely would be. And I know so much love for that. Val's in saying, watching Jan while I'm playing with my new Daisy collection. Cheryl's in saying, colour me happy, I have missed you. I think a lot of you have. Emma Thrower is saying, I have all the watercolour ink pads. I'm not sure whether to complete my Pigment ink pad or my quick dry. Right, okay. I know that's not necessarily a question, but I'm going to ask Jan. So Emma's she's got watercolour, and let's just say could only reach for either Pigment or quick dry. Would you personally have a preference? I know people would be different.
You're asking the wrong person. You know what my answer's going to be.
Yeah.
And it is purely preference. It is purely preference. But my go-to are the pigment inks. I love them. I love the consistency of them. I love the fact that you can emboss with them, which I'm going to show you later. I love the fact that they're a more pastel representation of that colour family. That's just my personal preferences. Not to say that there's anything wrong with the quick dries. They all have their place. I use my quick dry inks if I'm stamping out, such as the layering stamps. They're brilliant for if you're stamping out quick sentiments. You know that you're not going to smudge them, because with a sentiment you're often cutting it out into a little small piece. So if you've got your thumb over it and the ink's not dry, you ruin it before you've even started, whereas you've got the actual sort of reassurance with the quick dry that you can mess around with it and do whatever you want to do with it, and that ink ain't going nowhere. No. So it's a tough question, that one, it really is. Maybe think about some of the colours in the pigment range, and maybe some of the colours that are suitable for stamping sentiments from the quick dry range, and have a mix and match.
There you go.
So
perfect.
Yeah.
Great, thank you for that one,
May
Jan.
have been absolutely useless help there, I don't know.
No, it certainly won't be. It certainly won't be. It is always hard when it's always a personal preference, but certainly going back, and so it was a question that Val had asked. However, Jan brilliantly showed just at the start there, showing the different mediums that the Inkpads would go on, the effect that they give. So that's really good. So yeah, it really does come down to that personal preference. Kendall is saying, hi Jan and Craig, love learning the ways in which you can use your Inkpads. We mustn't forget as well, now I'm going to hold my hands up and say, I don't know if this is a permanent fixture within our pigment range, but we've got our white Inkpad as well.
Yes.
The white pigment Inkpad as well. So that adds to it, and yeah, it's a permanent fixture now within our pigment Inkpad. Rachel was saying that as well. So yeah, we've got a lovely one there. Alison saying, Jan must have been the best teacher before being a craft demonstrator.
Oh, bless. I used to work a lot with the children that had special needs, and I loved it. Yeah, so within the classrooms, I used to work with sort of smaller groups, not all the time, but some of the time, with the children that found it harder to learn, and it was so rewarding, honestly, it really was, which I think is where the patience comes from. I've always been a fairly patient person, but people used to say to me, don't know how you could do it, Jan, I'd lose my rag with them, you know, and I just said, no. You go, you know, we could have been doing the same thing over and over and over again, but that little light bulb when they understood it could have been 6 weeks later. That's the bit that tugged at the heartstrings, honestly, and it was worth every minute that you'd spent with them to allow them to then be able to use that knowledge in the classroom with all the mates. Yeah. Oh, it was just, honestly, I wouldn't have swapped it for the world.
No. What a lovely feeling that would be. I could only imagine that. What's lovely as well that I'm reading here, I've got a few questions which have just so happened being all covered from what you were saying at the start there. So it just...
That's why I wanted to start with that, because it is a bit of a minefield, especially if you're only just starting out. You think, well, why are there so many different types of ink? It is, as I say, when I worked in the store, it was one of the questions I used to get asked most of all. The Inkpads and then questions about the Gemini were the two things that people in general wanted answers for. So yeah, it is a bit of a minefield. So that's why we started where we did. Not actually got anything finished at the end of it, but I have got demos now lined up to go into a bit more detail with some of them.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, like I say, answers so many of these questions. Just to go on when it comes to our Midas Inkpad, Zoe on YouTube is saying, I bought a Craft Shop's own brand metallic Inkpad. It was useless. It went in the bin. Took the plunge and got a Midas Inkpad. Wow, it has so much ink in it.
They're so juicy.
Only buy Spectrum Noir.
They are so juicy, aren't they? Yeah.
They are.
I think it's the nature of the pigment ink as well. The water reactive ink is more of a translucent dye ink, but the pigment inks are really juicy, whether it be the colour family in Harmony or the Midas with the metallic range.
Yeah, I would agree with that one. Lynn is saying Jan is making it so much easier to understand. Brilliant. Maybe you're going to do exactly as to what Wendy's doing on Facebook. I love this show, so informative. I will have to save this show and watch it back again. You can do. Colleen's saying, I'm going to rewatch this again. I'm learning so much. Jan, thank you so much. I didn't know how to use my Inkpads the right way. All guessed at it. However, now I know thanks to you. You're welcome. And Kate McQueen is saying, if I'd had a teacher like Jan when I was at school, I think I'd have a much better understanding of things. She's such a calming and empathetic approach to teaching.
Bless.
I think a lot of people feel the same as well. A few of you saying near enough the same thing. And then last but by no means least for now, Colleen is saying, this has helped me so much. I'm a visual learner. Thank you so much, Jan.
Yeah,
so,
it does make a difference. As I say, I have loads. I've got notebooks full of notes and things that I don't always go back to them. Just that writing it out could be all I need to process it.
Yeah.
But as I say, I've got notebooks full of notes that I've taken watching some of our team. I mean, I still learn from you guys.
So
I don't profess to know everything. But it's just the way that I process information. So yeah, if you're a visual learner, you can watch and learn. Like I say, the auditory learning, you're listening and learning, and then the doing is the kinetic learning. So yeah, there's lots of different ways, and you access which bit works for you. We try and cover all of it here, because obviously we're speaking to you, we're demonstrating. Adding that written element in is there for some people.
It is. It really, really is. We're going to have a look at Cardstock and then go straight back to Jan. Just to say as well, in case you think, well, he's not answering my question, there's many of them that I know that Jan has answered. So it looks as though many of you have got your question in first, and then Jan has come and covered it. Just so happens, covering it before you have sent it in. So I know that you'll be able to get your answer from what Jan has been showing and telling and explaining. But right, let's have a look at some cardstock, because when Jan went over the cardstock at the start, we've got some deals on some of the bundles if you want to stock up. That includes our Nina cardstock. Now it is 3 packs that you're getting, so it works out that you're going to get 48 sheets in total. Wow, $9.90. What? Nicola, for the 3 of them. For the 3 of them. $9.98 or $13.98. That's giving you a saving of over 25%. £7.98 or $11.18. It works out that you're buying 2, you're getting 1 for free.
Yeah, they normally retail at $4.99 a pack, don't they?
Yeah, you do. 216 GSM, 16 sheets in each pack, giving you the 14 sheets. And you will probably find as well, if you're like me, like most of us, you don't use full sheets at a time.
No.
It's maybe just little
cut it down to
cuts.
the size that you want for your stamp, don't you? Yeah.
So all of that, that's a really, really good one for sure. That one being your Nina card, 3 packs, 48 sheets, $9.99 or $13.98, but your platinum comes down to $7.98 or $11.18. Now we've got our white multi-purpose cardstock. Now you're getting 2 packs. So it works out that you're buying 1 and you're getting 1 for half price. Now you don't need to put the additional 1 in. It will come as 2 packs to you. We're just showing the 1. It's pointless showing 2 because they're both exactly the same. But you're getting 2. White multi-purpose card, 2 pack. That's giving you 120 sheets, 60 in each. A4 in size, 300 GSM. $14.98 or $22.48. It's giving you a saving of 25%. $11.98 platinum or $17.98 for you guys stateside. All of you across Central Europe, you just need to go across to yourwebsite.eu. So that's 2 of kind of like the 3 main staple cardstocks that we've shown you, and we can't leave out our watercolour card. So we've got exactly that. Watercolour card. This one here, it's another 3 pack, so it works out that you are buying 2 and you're getting 1. We're having a little discussion in the gallery there. Yes, it works out that you are buying 2 and you're getting 1 for free. Watercolour card, 3 packs, 45 sheets in total, $9.98 or $17.98. Platinum comes down to $7.98 or $14.38. So once again, it is 3 packs that you are going to be getting. Similar to what I was saying about the Nina cardstock, I'm not sure if Jan would agree, you're not using full sheets at a time.
No,
unless you want to
rarely.
get a great big background. It's usually just small snippets that you're going to be using. So that one there, $9.98, $17.98, but a really good platinum price as well at $7.98 or $14.38. What a lovely array of cardstock and good deals that you can stock up with while we've got them. But what we will do is we'll have a look at Club Inspire. You may be new to us, you want to get that platinum price, you want to get all the benefits. Here's the boss to tell you all about it.
Welcome to Club Inspire. the Crafters Companion community where you can feed your crafty obsession. Join our fantastic loyalty club today and receive 20% off your first order. We'll also give you 250 points to help get you started. Other benefits of joining Club Inspire include exclusive special offers and discounts for Club Inspire members only, exclusive sneak peek previews of brand new product launches, and of course the Club Inspire community group on Facebook, where you can access exclusive content such as downloads, offers and inspiration, and of course you can chat and share your makes with other members. You'll receive 1 point for every £1, dollar or euro you spend, and the more points you receive, the more benefits you'll unlock. So what are you waiting for? Sign up, join the club and start rewarding yourself today.
Hello, I'm Corinne Robinson and I am having an absolutely fantastic time up here working for Crafters Companion. So my crafting journey began back in, I have to get this the right way around, 2001. I went to a craft workshop just at a craft store and I was absolutely hooked. My mum convinced me to go because she wanted to go and I've not looked back since 2001 and I'm still going now. My crafty inspirations are, I have to be inspired by my grandmother. She was an amazing sewer and I just love to take inspiration from her. I can't sew, but I am blown away by what she used to do. But I just am inspired by all my colleagues around me, the other experts. I've just done a show today where we have third parties in and I just love watching them and take little bits from them and then put my own twist on it. What's it like having crafty colleagues? It's fantastic. We are an amazing team. The support from Crafters Companion is brilliant. I have loved it. As you know, I've not been here overly long, but the team have opened their arms and welcomed me so fantastically. And I love watching the shows because a lot of the tips and techniques that you'll see me do in my shows, I've picked up from my colleagues by watching their shows. What non-craft facts can I share with you? I have my pride and joy at the moment is my gorgeous little Cavapoo dog. I absolutely love her. Miss her like mad when I come up here. Elsie's at home with my husband. What is my biggest crafting success? Oh, I just think it was the day I was able to give up a 9-to-5 job and be able to come and be a craft demonstrator full time. And then the excitement when I came to join this team was amazing. I just think that has to be up there at the top for me.
That's a little bit about Corinne. I think she's back later on in the week, I believe. Oh, she's back tomorrow. She's back tomorrow. It's Corinne and Debbie Robinson tomorrow, and then it's myself and Debbie Robinson on Sunday. Now, when it comes to your cards, your projects, maybe your backgrounds, 9 times out of 10, we like to have a little sentiment on there. Sometimes we're not quite sure what to put, the size of it, where to put it. We've got something that is, well, it's going to be really handy for you, and that's the Fancy Sentiment Stamp and Die Collection. Now, 4 dies in total. It's actually giving you 8 stamps because they work well together, or a standalone. All of what I'm showing you is £16 or $21, but Platinum comes down to £12.80 or $16.80. And you're going to get Special Friend, so you're going to get all of the ones I'm showing you. Now, with these ones here, your Stamp Friend works in conjunction with the die, so stamp it out and then die cut it, vice versa, and then you've got your die cut sentiment. But you've got Special as a stamp, so you can then have Special Friend. Of course, you can use the stamp on its own, the friend one that is. So same concept for thanks. You've got the stamp, you've got the die, and then you've got your additional little stamp that says very much, so you've got thanks very much. You've got happy and birthday. Happy having the coordinated die with it, and then you've got just to say with just having that coordinated die to it as well. So a lovely little set to have in your crafty stash, whether you intend to use the just and the to say together, or whether you just want to use the, well, maybe you wouldn't just use, well, you might use just on its own if you've got other sentiment stamps or dies and you want to have a play on words. Of course, that's up to yourself. But if you don't, nice set to have, kind of nice 4 generic sentiments that you're probably going to be using throughout the year, apart from things such as additional special occasions. You're going to get all of that. 13, I don't know where the 13 came from, £16 or $21, or platinum price comes down to £12.80 or $16.80 for that one there. So they have been popular in the past when we've showed them in other configurations. Now it's lovely to get these 4 main ones, although 8 stamps in total, at that lovely price. Handy to have when it comes to these ones, isn't they, Jan?
Most projects have a sentiment, don't they? And I think just to have something fancy like that, you can actually make the sentiment the focal point, if you wish, on your card. So this is actually a demo of 2 halves, because I'm going to go back to that background for anybody that wasn't watching earlier to show you. And I did say that I'd picked a couple of the really neutral colours. So these are in that bundle. These are the water reactive inks, and we've got pumice and smoked pearl. So we've got sort of like a very, very neutral beigey tone. And then this one's actually sort of like smoky brownish shade. You'll see when I put them on the card. So what we're going to do is we're just going to quickly pop those onto a piece of the, again, all-purpose cardstock. You know, if you're only buying one lot of card today, I would go with the multi-purpose. It does so many different things. And again, for the blending, this is the one that I tend to go to the most. Okay. So that nice firm surface on these means that I can load up my applicator straight from that foam, that felt pad. So this one's the pumice. And again, I'm just going to come in. Don't really worry. Don't stress about what it looks like at this point. We're going to do so many things to this that you won't even notice any kind of irregularities from the blending at the beginning. And this is what I love about making backgrounds. We've only ever sort of done the inking bit in the past. So again, I'm just going to grab my kitchen paper because, like I said earlier, if you put your fingers in here now to hold the card, you're going to get a couple of fingerprints in here where it lifts the card. So I'm going to do 3 sort of areas with the lighter one. Okay, and I'm just layering up maybe 2 or 3 times to get some depth of colour. And then I'm going to come in again down this side here.
And I know you did already cover this, Jan, but just in case anyone was unsure again, that's the water reactive that you're using.
It's the water reactive ink with the multi-purpose card, yeah. And then, as I say, I prefer the round applicators. If you've mastered those rectangular applicators, then they will do exactly the same job. So that's my pumice, and then I'm going to swap applicators and bring in that lovely smoked pearl colour. It's like a grey brown. If you're used to our alcohol markers, it fits in that grey brown family beautifully.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, it's a good one for that.
And you know, you think, well, it's a bit dark and gloomy, Jan, but we haven't finished yet. We're going to throw all sorts at it. So again, bring that area into where we've got the gaps, that colour. And I've just stamped out a little bit of the excess on the glass mat so that you don't get like a circle of ink. All right, so just to sort of take off the excess. You can always pick it up again and use it off your glass mat, but it just saves starting out literally with that circle of ink on your cardstock.
It's like you're taking a little run and jump, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, just again, it depends what kind of technique. I mean, if anybody's actually familiar with what they call the bokeh technique, that's done with circles. And these are great for stamping out circles of colour, so absolutely brilliant. And then if you keep a clear one that's just slightly moist with water and go over it again, it lifts some of the ink out. So I'll save that for another show if you're not familiar with that term. So again, like I did before, top tip, make sure when you finish with your ink pad, not just for the safety of the ink drying out, but so that you don't mix your colours up, get your lids back on them so that you've got the right lids with the right one. And then I go back to the lighter colour and just where the 2 meet, sort of blend those edges in a little bit so that you've not got such a definite line. And as I say, don't worry about it because we're going to do lots of things to it which will allow it to fade into the background. So because it's water reactive ink, the first thing I'm going to do is actually play with some water with it. Okay, so earlier we were talking about that, making the ink move around. So again, I've just popped some water out. I'll bring the paintbrush in again this time for anybody that doesn't have the fan brush. And like I say, just aim it at your card and just tap it gently. Like I said, the harder you tap it, the further the ink goes. So you can see here now, we're almost getting quite a mystical night. It could be sort of the galaxy with a few planets and things on there, couldn't it? Things start emerging as you go along. Now, I've just done that wrong.
Oh.
So we're going to do another layer.
Look it up.
I got carried away with my water then. So
Got
just
a feel. Sorry, I was just waiting to say it's got a feel of like an army uniform as well.
Yes, yeah. So again, you know, you see different things. But what I was supposed to do was flick that with the ink. So let's do it again. What I wanted to do was show you that you don't have to just use water. This is actually the Parakeet water reactive ink, which I'm going to pop a bit of water to. And my plan was actually to splash this on.
Okay.
So it will have the same effect because we've got the water in it. So it's going to push around the ink, but we're going to get these lovely, and I am being really careful now, otherwise I'm going to end up with blue ink all over the nice white top desk. So again, just in places, and you can see how this plays nicely with that ink as well. So wherever you want it, just really gently. You can be more precise, the more gentle. If you go really mad with it, you'll just get a splatter of ink literally everywhere. So I will wash that out in a second. And then, as I say, once you've got to a point that you're happy with, I'm not actually going to blot this because I don't want to lift the turquoise ink out. So all I'm going to do is just mop up the excess there. And then I'm just going to bring the heat tool in this time to heat set it because I want that turquoise colour to stay in place. Now, it's not very, very wet, but just to make sure that we've got no puddles of ink, I'm just going to give it a little. So we've actually got a bit of a two-tone effect going on there because I did the water first. Quite like that, actually. So you could stop there, and that could be your background. But why stop there when you can do extra things to it? So the next thing I'm going to do is I've just been in my stash and pulled out an embossing folder.
Okay.
Okay, so this is actually a really old one, really old Crafter's Companion one from, oh, it's trying to rub off on the back. Birthday party, I think it was, which is probably about 6 years ago. God. So I'm showing how long I've had my collections now.
Was that a Sarah Signa collection?
Yes, yeah. But any embossing folder will work for this. And because this is just a flat 2D folder, I'm just going to pop it between my two clear plates and offer that into the Gemini. So that's adding another layer of, now we've got texture going on as well as colour. And this is why that multi-purpose card's great, because you can just do so much with it and it doesn't alter the structure of the card. So again, not that obvious, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to come back in with the blue ink, okay? Just going to take a little bit of that Parakeet, and over the lighter areas, I'm just going to, I'm really light now because I don't want to cover up that initial colour, but I want to bring out the patterning in that area. And again, not too dark over that side.
So cool.
And then I'm going to go back over the darker area with the actual colour that we used underneath, so the smoked pearl. And again, I've got my applicator flat this time, and I'm just literally rubbing it across where those raised embossed dots are. So again, I don't want it to be too dark. And then round the edges, I tend to go with the respective colours. So that one, and we'll do the turquoise round here. So you can see now it's actually emerging into a background. And then I've got one last thing that I want to do to it. Okay, so we just need another piece of paper to catch the residue. And this is something that I have in my stash, and you know, I forget all about it. So I'm actually going to bring out our spray and sparkle. Now, I don't think we've got this on the show, but it should be on the website. And it comes in lots of different colours. Because I'm working with blues and greys and sort of that neutral, I've gone for the silver. But there is a gold one as well. And the iridescent one, oh, to die for. I love that one, especially on black card. You can hear the mixer ball in it because it's got the glitter in it. And then all I'm going to do are just short, little sharp sprays across here. And what this is going to do is add it doesn't interfere with the ink, but a really fine sort of spray of silver glitter into that design, okay? And just need to wait for that to dry, so I'll come back to that shortly. I've got one that I did at home, and again, if we get our Charlotte to come and have a look at that shimmer and that sparkle. So this one's not quite as dark again. I've obviously been a bit heavy-handed here. Maybe it's because I'm stood up. I wonder if that's the difference, because at home I tend to sit down when I'm crafting. There's a point. So I'm wondering if I'm applying more pressure because I'm stood up, because that one's considerably darker. And so was the pink one that I did earlier, wasn't it? Interesting.
It would make sense.
So we've actually started out with the colour. That's the same two colours with the turquoise over the top. I just splattered that one with turquoise. I got carried away with the other one and put the water on it. And then again, we've added that beautiful shimmer with that sparkle spray. So that's going to be the background to my design. Now, the next thing that I want to show you in conjunction with this is those gorgeous sentiments that Craig just went through earlier. So we've got fancy fonts, the mix and match element, and I picked the happy birthday because I thought this is probably the most frequently used when we're making projects. I think throughout the year there's more birthdays than anything else, so I thought we'll have a look at that one. And I'm going to show you how I do this. Now, I don't know about the rest of the team, but this is how I like to work with these. So the first thing, the idea is that you've got a stamp that will fit in the space of the metalwork. Okay? Okay. So, if you stamp it out first, because this is a solid piece of metal, I personally can't get it lined up very well. No. Because you can't see through it. If it's just an outline die, it's completely different because you can see your work underneath it. So in this case, I actually like to cut my pieces out first. So I've just grabbed our little mini for this because they are small sentiments. I've got a piece of that white multi-purpose cardstock, just a scrap there. And I like to cut them twice and stick them together to give them a little bit of substance if you're using them as a sentiment. So I'm going to cut one. So this is literally how I would actually work with this. And this is the beauty, I think, of these shows, because normally we'd have all this prepped and say, oh, this is the stamp that I've already done. But I actually wanted to show you in this show how we went about it. And this is how I work at home. So I've got two exactly the same. It isn't necessary, it's just something that I tend to do to give it a bit more stability. And then what I'm going to do is just use a little bit of tacky glue to pop these together. So just on the back there, doesn't need a lot. So I've now actually got a double thickness, and any of you that work with that multi-purpose card will know now that this is actually more like a little chipboard piece than a piece of cardstock. And because it's die cut, it fits together perfectly. So one over the top of the other, like so. And then I'm going to bring the stamping platform in, and I'm just going to grab one of our dotty tape pens. And what I tend to do is just put a little tiny bit of the dots on the back, which means that I can secure it now onto here. Okay? So now I can play with the stamp, and I can line this up perfectly now because I can see through the clear stamp, and I can position it so that it's exactly in the right place over that cutout piece. So when we pick this up now, I'm actually going to go with some Pigment ink in the Lagoon, which is a wee bit darker than what we used on the project with the parakeet.
I adore this colour.
And I'm also going to bring in my clear embossing powder, okay, because the Pigment inks emboss beautifully. They stay wet for much, much longer than the other two ink pads And that was one of the features in these when Leanne designed them. It's what's called the open time. So they actually stay wet long enough for you to pop embossing powder on and it stick to them. The water reactive, you'd struggle to get this to stick to it. The quick dry, you'd have absolutely no chance of it sticking to it, okay? So I've just got clear embossing powder because I want the colour to show through. If you wanted to, for example, heat emboss in gold, then I would actually be using my sticky ink and some gold embossing powder or silver embossing powder. But because I want the colour of this, I'm just going to stamp with this and then over stamp with the, go with the embossing powder. So again, we're going to go, is this the right one? Yep, the Lagoon. I keep swapping them about. So again, just nice and gentle. Remember what I said about that sponge in here. So again, if you press on too hard, we're going to get a whole splodge of ink. Now, because we lined this up, this should go down straight over the top of that little piece that we put down and just let it release gently. And like I said, I nearly always put a couple of coats on just to strengthen the colour. And that's the beauty of having that stamping platform. And then as soon as that's finished, okay, because they were just the little dots, we can take this away. And I'm literally going to pop some of this straight over the top. Because it stays wetter, you can see the difference between this half, where it's gone frosted, and this one. So again, just to pop it on here. And because I use such a lot of the clear, I've actually decanted it into the, I find it easier to work this way than the little pots. My gold and silver I still keep in the little pots, but I do use a lot of the clear. So just a top tip, your little reverse tweezers that stay closed when you're not squeezing them are brilliant for this because you can just hold it ready. And then I'm going to grab the heat tool, and this time I'm going to go straight onto that second setting. And before I go anywhere near my embossing powder, I'm going to let this heat up. So the warmer it is to start with, the quicker it's going to emboss and the less chance there is of warping that card, okay? So we've got a decent amount of heat there. So I'm going to start at this end and just hold it over the embossing, and you'll see it go clear and that colour will become much richer again. You'll lose that kind of frosted effect over all of it. And once it's turned, move on. And then when you get to the end, just be aware that your tweezers are metal, and that's it, finished. That's all it needs. So you don't need to hover over it for a long, long time. And then again, if we can just get this to catch the light now, it's got that lovely sort of sheen to it, rather than it just being the one that I did at home was actually in the Lagoon Quick Dry. So again, you can see the difference in that shading. It's not a lot, it's only subtle, but the opaque one is just a fraction lighter than the Quick Dry. Okay, so we're going to use this one, and we're just going to pop this together really quickly now because I'm just conscious of the time already. So what I've done is a little bit of matting and layering, and that black card comes in handy. That's one of the reasons I have the black card in stock, is it's perfect to make those backgrounds sort of stand out when you're matting and layering. So that one's going to go onto my card there. Then we're going to use, I can feel the gritty bits from the embossing powder now.
They just seem to get everywhere.
So I'll use the dry one that we've already got going, because the other one's just that spray and sparkle just takes about 20 minutes or so just to make sure it's totally dry on there. So we'll pop this one on. We'll go with that.
So much love for what you've just done on that background. So much love.
And then we've got our gorgeous little sentiment there with that little bit of sparkle and shimmer. Now, if you don't want, the beauty of the dots here is they will just rub away if you don't want them. Okay, so you can actually pop some foam on there if you wish. I'm just going to put, for speed, I'm just going to put a little bit of red line tape again, because I'm going over so many mediums. That red line is really, really sticky. There they are. Thought they were eluding me then. I've got things everywhere now, honestly. and pop this one on first. And then the other half of that stamp set, you've got a really nice little complementary font, not that bit, Jan, that bit, that goes with it. And that creates, I've got my little bag of bits here. That creates your little birthday sentiment here. So you've got that lovely scrolly fancy font and then that printed capital font. And I just think it makes a really good contrast. Depends how you want to put them. It will fit in here. I'm actually going to bring it over to one side, I think, just there. And then again, because I said these colours reminded me of more of a masculine, you know, whereas this morning we were playing with the pinks and we had the butterflies on there, I've been in my button box. I like putting buttons on more masculine cards. And again, I've just picked out some of the sort of grey tones. I've got a little black one and the turquoise, just to bring in what we've got on the front. And I'm just going to pop these, 3 of them at the top, like so. And I've just put a little bit of red line tape on the back. I'm going to put the black one up there with those. And then I'm going to contrast that just to sort of balance it with a couple down here, just to sort of give it a balanced effect. So I've got, rather than doing 3 there, I've just got 2 that we're going to pop at the bottom.
So effective, that one. I like that with the buttons.
And my apologies, that was a wee bit long, but we've sort of got 2 demos in one there. Okay, so if I move all the rubbish out of the way and turn that one round, you can see that background in action. So this is the one that we did. It is still just a little bit wet. This is the one that we made in the show. Bit darker, but using that as your background. And then those stamps, as I say, they're enough to be a focal point. Because there's such a lot going off in the background, it brings that stamp then into focus as your focal point on the card.
It does.
Okay.
It really, really does. Jamie is saying, very nice. I've got some Inkpads, going to give it a shot, gives you some good ideas. We've also got Colette saying, oh, Jan, that background's wonderful. Miriam saying, wow, that background and the embossing looks amazing. Betty saying, oh my, Jan, that is amazing. Sarah Brown saying, thank you for the great ideas and demonstrations today, Jan, much appreciated. Christina Mahoney saying, so nice, love the card and how you demonstrate, Jan. And Miriam is also saying, saving the show to do this technique and demo. Well, there you go, you are absolutely more than welcome to do it. Save it and then recreate them in anything that we do till your heart's content. Now, Jan was using reactive inks there for that background, which we went over earlier on in the show, but we'll do as well. Same with when it comes to the pigment ink pads for the embossing. However, we are having a look at the sentiments. So this one was from the Fancy Sentiment Stamp and Die collection. Now within this one here, you're going to get 4 dies and 8 stamps. You've seen how you can be using these. All 4 of these can be used in the same way that Jan's just showed you there a moment ago. You've got the stamp, you've got the die to work together, but you've got that little accessory font to work into conjunction with your die. You've got your happy that you can see there, so that's the one that Jan just used a moment ago. Thank you very much. And then you've also got Special Friend. All of these you are going to be getting for £16 or $21, but platinum price comes down to £12.80 or $16.80 for all you guys stateside. So nice little sentiment selection for you to get your hands on when it comes to the Fancy Sentiments. Right, before we jump back to Jan, we're going to have a few looks at the items from Totally Tiffany. Now, within this one here, that is your 12 by 12 craft binder with Spinder. Like that name. $12.49. Now, this one is a US only. It's from the US warehouse clearance it was on last night. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that just shortly, because you can still shop the USA warehouse clearance all about Totally Tiffany. But if you are platinum, it's going to come down to $9.99. That one, it is your 12 by 12 storage binder. It's very, very lightweight. You've also got that zipper binder around the edges too, and it works perfectly course, you put any of your craft supplies in there. It also includes that 3-ring binder mechanism, which is the Spinder, and it's perfect, of course, for storing all your crafty supplies. I'm just trying to think, what about things if you've been on holiday, events that you've been to, you know, or colour coordinate your papers or any of your card, or even do your stamps. It's entirely up to you, but it's also good for holding your embossing folders too. So that is that one. Now, what you've also got is shut your flaps. That one is your large and small tab and label. So that's a 4-pack, $7.98. Again, this is US only because it is from the USA warehouse clearance, saving 50%, but a platinum price of £6.38. This one here, it is your bundle of shut your flaps, tabs and labels. 4 packs include 2 of the large, 2 of the small. Now, you've got your 40 tabs, 10 of each colour. Perfect for your scrapbooking pages. And you can also use your labels for many different things when it comes to organisation. So that one there is your shut your flaps, large and small tabs and labels 4-pack, $7.98. Or if you're at a platinum price of $6.38. Just to say as well, so these ones were part of the USA warehouse clearance that was on yesterday with Totally Tiffany and Ben. Those deals, what are remaining, are still available for you to get your hands on. Now, if you spend $50 or more on items that were in that USA warehouse clearance, also, if it's got an orange sticker on it, that means it's part of the USA warehouse clearance. Then if you spend $50 or more, you will get your free shipping. Now, to get that free shipping, if you are ordering anything else that is not within that USA warehouse clearance, to get that free shipping, it needs to be a separate order. So if all your items come to $50 or more, if you were to pop anything else in there that's not part of that USA warehouse clearance, when it comes to Totally Tiffany, then that free shipping, it won't be activated. So just make sure to get the free shipping, all the items in that basket are just from the USA warehouse clearance, and it also has that orange sticker on it, just to let you more aware of that one. So it's just to point out that one when it comes to the Totally Tiffany. So the items from that clearance from last night, what is available, still available, is there for you to get your hands on across on the USA website, Crafters Companion USA Warehouse Clearance. Now we're going to have a look at some stamps here. Now we've got our beauty stamps, and these really are that. They are naturally beauty when it comes to these stamps. Now you're going to get all of them, so it's 5-pack in total. Also, it's giving you a saving of over 30%. Kind of works out that you're going to get one of these for free. So it kind of works out, you're buying 4, you're going to get 1 for free. So within this whole bundle, £27 or $34. Platinum comes down to $21.60 or $27.20. You've got Little Darling. You've also got Luscious Locks. Now these are all focusing on the hair, the wave of the hair, the direction of the hair. Also the portrait look, you've got some of them that are side on or face on. But whether you want to go in with your lighter tones of hair colour, maybe you want to go in with your darker tones, maybe your grey tones, maybe you want to go steampunk. It's entirely up to you, but it is that natural beauty collection. Now you can do either watercolour or alcohol colour, just follow the steps as to what Jan's explained throughout the show, and also wake-up call about the ink pads that you need to use, but you've got the 5 of them in there. It does work out that you are buying 4, you're going to get 1 for free. At today's price, £27 or $34. That's where you've got that saving of over 30%, but your platinum price comes down even more to £21.60 or $27.20. All of these and so much more are across on Shop the Day. You just need to head across to our website where you're going to find the Shop the Day. When it comes to the Tiffany items, excluding the USA warehouse clearance, which was just for the US of A. The Tiffany show that we've got later on, yes, it's going to be on Shop the Day. However, I would recommend going to the Tiffany Get Organised banner that you'll find on the website. You'll find lots of incredible deals across there, such as the workstation, the desk made, and you've got loads and loads of kind of even ideas on how you can then be starting to store your crafty items or any items throughout the house. Right. still just so many lovely comments about that last demonstration, Jan, but I know that you've still got quite a few things you want to show, so I will hand back to you.
Right, so we're going to have a look at those stamps. Excuse me. So I've gone for the Effortless Chic, and I'm going to speed up a little bit because I can see the clock ticking away, and I'm like, how is there only just over half an hour left? I've got another couple that I would like to fit in for you. So I've prepped everything ready. I've got my stamping platform at the ready. And this time, because we're going to be doing some watercolouring, I've gone for my watercolour card. So I've just cut a piece the size that I want for my project. I've popped my stamp on the platform ready. So she's actually going to be positioned in the centre of that card. And because we're going to be using a watercolour medium to colour with, I've gone for my water brush waterproof finesse ink, and I'm going to use the brown one just because it's a little bit softer, because we're going to colour her hair brown. And again, just make sure that you've got it inked up nicely. And people often ask about stamping on the watercolour card, and again, I don't think it is slightly pitted the surface, but not enough that it makes a problem for stamping. Particularly if you've got something like the platform where you can apply that pressure directly over the top. If you're having problems with your stamping at all, I would recommend standing up. If you sit down to stamp, try standing up and doing it, because you've got then your weight over the top of the stamp, and it allows you to give you that even pressure. And you can see there that she's stamped out beautifully just in that one pass. Okay, so I'm going to pop that one off there. I'll sort that out in a second. And again, we're going to use the ink pads to colour with this time. So whereas you could get your aqua markers out, you could get your sparkle inks out, anything like that that you've got that's a water-based ink to colour with, because we were focusing on the ink pads, I thought we'd actually use some of these to work with. So I'm going to start out with the sandstone, which was the nearest one in the bundle that was skin toned. And I've just got a little bit of water in my cup this time, and I'm going to use the really fine paintbrush that I've got. All right, so this is actually the number 3 from the Royal and Langnickel collection that we have on the website. So all I'm going to do is pick up the ink. I'm not going to wet the card at all. I'm just going to come in and use it as a paint. So if it's a little bit dark, you can add a little bit more water and blend it out. Okay. And then just bring it through. And again, if it gets a bit dark, just add some water and blend it out. Okay. So as I say, I'm not going to colour it all in because I've got one that I finished off at home. So we'll do a little bit of it. And then because I thought it was a little bit sort of brown in sort of colour, I've just got a little bit of the pink as well, just the pink tulip. And I'm actually going to use a little, just a touch of that to create some areas that are a bit more sort of, you know, where you would normally put your shadow with your pens. So again, just to create, because I don't want to build up that brown and it end up being too brown. Obviously, it depends what kind of skin tone. I think I need a new one of these. It's getting very, very sparse in distributing colour, the pink, and there's no wonder. It's my go-to one every time. There's being light on colour, and then there's being light on colour when it's been used to the extent Jan does. So again, and then once I've done that, I'm just going to blend it with the brush out into that colour that I've already put down. So again, if we do a little bit onto her arm here. Again, if it's dark, just add, I don't think I'm going right down into there actually. That's better. You see how you can move it on the watercolour card? So again, turn your artwork, top tip, rather than trying to get into angles that feel uncomfortable. And then again, I'm just going to bring in some of that pink to add a little bit more of a sort of a rose hue to that skin tone. Just to say as well, because I know Cara was asking, this is a good point, and there's absolutely no difference whatsoever, but she's saying I have some water reactives in the blue bottoms. It's just a new packaging that's starting to come through, isn't it? It is, yes. Yeah, I think they did originally start out in that turquoisey colour. But then we realised that they were very similar to the finesse. So again, to show them differently, we just altered the colouring. So again, Just clean those off. And then I used a combination of Friar Brown and Seal Brown to do her hair. So again, I'm just going to do a little bit of it and show you the one that I finished off at home. So 2 ways of doing the watercolour technique. You can pick the colour up and go straight in. If you want to put water into the area first and then add your colour in, can you see how it starts wicking? It travels wherever you've put the water, and sometimes people prefer to actually work like that with it. So again, you know, whichever way you prefer. If you just want to go straight in, see it's a wee bit darker going straight in with the actual ink, but you've got a perfectly good medium to work with there. If you wish, if you like watercolouring, it's quite therapeutic, to be honest.
That's why I like it with the Inkpads.
Yeah. So again, I'm just going to do that top bit there. And then all I did with the Seal Brown was actually start and think about, right, well, it would be darker near the roots. And then a little bit from the bottom here. And it's just a case of working in that second colour to give you a little bit of sort of definition. Now, I'm not the best watercolour artist, I will admit, because I do prefer my alcohol colouring, but you get the idea with it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a bit more of the brown and join those 2 sections up.
Between Wake Up Call and now Colour Me Happy, of course, yeah, you've brilliantly explained the 3 main ink pads, but when it comes to water reactive, all the different ways that you have shown, Jan, and I think that's why many of us would tend to say, if you can own, I know obviously you love your Pigment ink pads.
Yeah.
I know many would say, if you can only go for like one collection, what is a versatile one? And you've just shown how versatile water reactive is.
Yeah, you could do this with your pigment inks.
That's true, yeah.
But you would get a much more paler finish. And then I just brought the grasshopper green in to do her dress. And again, I've laid colour down all the way through to start with. And then just colour on colour will give you some shading. So once your colour has dried, which it pretty much does, unless you're adding a lot of water, it pretty much dries instantly onto the watercolour card because it's so absorbent. There's not a lot of water lying around. And as I say, I am not, don't judge me, because I am not the best watercolour artist at all. But I do know how the inks behave, and that's the bit that I wanted to show you. So once this has dried off, you can then start and do colour on colour. Now you could go down to the pine green, which is a bit darker, but because I wanted to work with ones that were in the collection, if you just go over it again with the same colour, you'll get some darker areas in to get that shading in. So I'm just following the lines that are on the stamp there, and it would probably be a wee bit darker here under where her arm is. And just build up those layers, okay? And when you're finished, and I've added an extra element to this one, when you're finished, this is what you end up with. So you can see how I've worked at this one. You can see that differentiation between the 2 browns. You can see where I've done the extra layers of the green. And then all I've done is taken a stencil and I've just pushed a little bit of that same green through the stencil with a sponge applicator, just to sort of frame it. She looked a little bit bare, just floating in the middle of there, but just by bringing in those 4 corners, and then I've gone round the edge of it with the applicator, it's just sort of framed her inside there.
It really has.
So very, very quickly then, because as I say, I'm just conscious, I've got most of my card put together, so I've just literally made a 5x7 card, halved it and folded it back. I've already got my inside piece in matted and layered there, just with a little bit of silver mirror card, just to pick up a bit of shine. And then I've replicated this to go on the front. So it's going to line up perfectly over the one inside.
Great idea.
With her on top. So let's, see, it works. I've got the bits on the back because there's something I need to stick on there
Yes,
first.
if you hadn't done that,
every
you
time
forgot.
without fail. So yeah, I didn't want to cover up a lot of this. So a great way of doing that is to use your vellum. So I've just stamped out the word celebrate on the vellum there, and you can still see through that to see your image. So yes, we need to stick that on the back, which is why I've started putting the tape on the back, because it reminds me when I turn it over that, yeah, there's something else to go on there, Jan. And then we can actually put our
Who needs notes
double-sided.
for yourself when you just give yourself that little bit of a nudge with a bit of red
I'm
liner
terrible.
tape?
I'm just that giddy to get everything sorted and forget all about it. So that one's going to go over the top of the mirror card. If you want to take the centres out of your card, you can. And then just because Jan's very pedantic and very OCD, I didn't want to open this and see the green, so I've just matted it onto some white there so that when we open it, we've got the white element. So this one's just going to stick. I just want glue on this side.
It's lovely to see that, how it's just
And then
come
I'm going to
together.
line it up over this one so that it's actually covering the inside one. And it should be just about straight. And then the last thing I've got just to finish it off there is just a little ribbon to go on there. So again, nice and simple, letting that stamp be the focus point there. And again, just opening out. So it says celebrate on your special day.
Jan, that is
So-
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, just
Really
another
is
way to
beautiful.
use those inks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. So there was a question come through earlier, and it's from Cindy, and I didn't forget about it. I just wanted to wait to a certain point. And
Yep.
I'll be honest, I don't actually have an idea about this question. I don't know in great detail, but I'll ask Jan. Cindy Dot on Facebook is saying, Jan, how bad will stamp pads be and markers be if they're damaged by freezing? We really cannot avoid it in some states, especially while travelling.
Ink pads and
They're,
stamps
so ink pads and markers.
and markers. Whereabouts are they based?
So it just says it's hard to avoid it in some states. So it'll be obviously America.
Yeah, I would imagine our cold here to us feels freezing, but I would imagine compared to some of the
Yes.
states in America, it's nothing. But as a lot of you know, I craft in my craft room is my conservatory. So here in the UK, we do have quite an extreme difference in temperature from summer to winter. We do get quite a bit of heat occasionally in the summer, which makes it like a greenhouse. But in the winter, it can be very, very cold in there. Even though I've got a radiator in there, it's a big conservatory, and it does get very cold. Now, I'm not comparing that. I know some of the states in America go down to ridiculous minus numbers.
Yeah.
But from my experience, I've not had any damage to mine. I never move them over the winter. It does have a small radiator in there, but it's not enough to make it that warm. When I'm sat in there, I have an extra heater on in the winter. And all my markers, all my stamps and everything stay in the craft room. And I've never had any problem performance-wise, but I can't sort of enhance that with lower temperatures. So it depends how low it's going.
That's it.
There isn't, although they're water-based, there isn't a definite water element. It's not like a water suspension that you would maybe find in like a sparkle pen, which possibly may start to freeze at a low enough temperature. I don't know. I don't know how the glitter would react with that. But the ink pads and the markers, there isn't enough water content in them, I don't think, for it to be a problem.
No. And just brief as well, just as a carry on from what Jan was saying, before I joined Crafters Companion, I had a lot of Crafters Companion ink pads. I had a few of them, again, before I joined. And when I lived in Scotland, my craft room was a shed.
Yeah.
Out in the back garden, and it was secure in that, but yeah, it dropped quite a bit of coldness to here in the UK anyway, and it never affected it. And I can only think now, as Leanne and Spectrum Noir have gone in, the quality's got better, so you are, it's hard for us to say exactly as Jan just said, because we're not aware of your temperatures, but if we go for the UK as a guidance, then it's not affected ours. So hopefully that's helped. At least damaging wise, no, you should be okay. But what Jan was just showing you there a moment ago was your Natural Beauty stamp set. Now you're getting 5 in total. Does work out that you're saving over 30% on that today's price. And it also works out that you're buying 4 and you're going to get 1 for free. So I'm going to go through these very quickly in the next bit so that we can go straight back to Jan. But we've got Effortless Chic. We've got Tumbling Waves. We've also got Ethereal Beauty. We have also got Luscious Locks, and then we've also got Little Darling. So that's the 5 that you are getting, £27 or $34, £21.60 for your platinum, and $27.20. Just say as well, if you love the look of the vellum sentiment that Jan's just popped on, here in the UK tomorrow at 2 o'clock, I've got a launch on Hobby Maker for the UK, which is a vellum sentiment strip pad. So if it comes to Hobby Maker, you know it's going to be on Crafters TV very, very soon. So keep an eye out on that one. That's going to work really, really well. So it may actually be launching within, maybe towards the end of next week. Next week, that's all I'm going to say on Crafters TV. Gorgeous, with a Floribunda paper pad. Oh, Faye's done an incredible job. Right, let's have a look at some slimline magnetic sheets. Now within these ones here, being your slimline magnetic sheets, $9.99. They are part of a 3 for 2 or $7.99. They are for you guys stateside alone. This one here is perfect to store your metal dies, of course. What's lovely as well, they are visible and it's even secure, even although they are visible to see. The white side of each of the magnetic sheet, and it's got space for a number of the slimline dies on each as well. And what's really easy and lovely in the fact is it's easy removable as well. It's got that simple bend for that sheet. Just curves nicely, that nice bend as we say there. Your die's going to pop off with absolute ease. I've tried it, so I can tell you that it absolutely does. And you don't need to worry about permanently sticking them down whatsoever. Just sits on there with that magnetic feature and then easily removable. $9.99 or $7.99 for you guys stateside platinum. And then last but by no means least for this one, we'll go straight back to Jan. This one is your 8x8 fab file, $7.99, also part of a 3 for part 2, $6.39. This one here as well, it's fab file 8x8. It's ideal for your 8x8, of course, your scrapbook papers, album supplies. You can put in any of your album kits, maybe acrylic stamps, normal stamps, dies you can put in there. There are reusable tabs that you've got there, and you've got the little labels as well, self-adhesive labels. Just to say, those 2 items that I showed you there were part of the Totally Tiffany warehouse clearance sale. So if you want to pop them in your basket over $50, you're going to get free shipping, but just make sure your basket is containing items from the USA warehouse clearance to get that free shipping. The other thing to do is just look for the orange stickers across on the website. Now, what we are going to have a look at is the Aperture photopolymer stamp collection. 66 stamps in total, and within these ones here, this is a ridiculously good saving for all of you at home. You're going to get everything I'm showing you, £19 or $22. Platinum comes down to $15.20 or $17.60. It does work out that you are buying 2 and you're going to get 4 for free. You've heard me right. Ornate butterflies. All of the stamps within the Ornate butterfly set that you're going to be getting. Lovely full Aperture with the embellishments and sentiments. You've got Terrarium. You've got Birds and Branches, and I am purposely going through these quick. Floral Heart. We've got Wild Blooms. And then we have also got our Balloons in Flight. If you want to see these in more detail, I know where to look at them, but the actual boards in more detail, I recommend going back to a wake-up call and having a look at that where I showed them in more detail. That is, of course, on a Crafters TV YouTube channel. Lots of ways in which you can use these ones. Jan done an incredible demo within Wake Up Call. And I think we're going to look at these again, Jan.
We are, yes. I'm just going to finish off with those Ornate butterflies. I had to bring those into the mix. This is absolutely gorgeous. If you love your butterflies, excuse me, really, really pretty stamp. So again, like Craig said, photopolymer. And this is a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier when I said that some of the inks can stain. your stamps. So these are particularly the pinks and the purples. It doesn't damage the stamp, it just makes them a really pretty colour. So don't worry too much about it. So we're going to first of all use the Aperture stamp, which is that main stamp that creates the bulk of the design. And then I'm going to pop the sentiment into the centre. So this time I'm going to work with my quick dry inks, and I've just got a piece of Nina cardstock. I didn't need the weight of the all-purpose. I'm not going to do any moving of ink. It's going to dry pretty much instantly. So again, I'm just going to pop this in place, and we're just going to stamp it out with the platform. So I've got some plum jam on the quick dry there. So we're going to give the first coat in this one, and that's why you've got all this pink tinge. It's something to do with the products that are made, that are used to make the colours. So as I say, it doesn't damage the stamp at all, but don't worry if it doesn't come off totally. No matter what you use, it'll not remove that stain. So the first layer is going to be that lovely plum jam. So straight down. Lots of pressure just over the top of the stamp there. I like to just go over the top of all of it. And then just to add, you can see there we've got that whole design. But just to add a little bit more detail, I'm going to take away any excess from the pink. And then I'm going to bring in black, which is quite a stark contrast. But what I'm doing is just go around the bottom part of the stamp. So I don't want to cover all of it.
Okay.
And this is perfect with them having a curved edge. A straight edged stamp pad, you might have a bit more trouble with this. But just inking up the bottom section, so like the bottom set of wings in the butterflies-ish. Doesn't matter if it's not perfect. And then I'm going to pop it on again, make sure we've got it the same way, and over stamp. So we're going to get like a two-tone effect with those butterflies. So it's just a different way of using your inks.
Oh, Jan, wow.
And again, you can do that with any colour. You know, you could have a light blue and a dark blue. You could have, you know, contrasting colours. Think about your colour wheel. Think about those opposite colours that, that go together. So your blue and your orange, your red and your, let me think, red and green. I had to think of my colour wheel then. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab one of the sentiments, and I love this one. If nothing ever changed, there would be no butterflies. It's just a really nice little sentiment, and these are designed to just fit in the middle there. So I'm going to stick with my black for this one.
What's lovely with these stamps, and I suppose any stamps, but if you look at this collection alone, now for me, if I think of collections, I think of Sarah's Vintage Butterfly. So that's going to be a lovely little addition to her collection.
Yeah, I'm with you, Craig. I love mixing and matching the collections. I really do. And it's like you're getting some longevity out of the ones that you've bought previously, because there will always be some transfer of designs from one collection to another. So I've just done that a couple of times again, just to deepen that sort of that black. And you can see there how we've got our main design. All right. So all I've done with that one is exactly the same. Trimmed it down a little bit. I normally work on a bigger piece than I actually need to work with here. And then I've matted and layered it on a similar colour tone and just added some of those gorgeous little dewdrops on there. And very quickly, because I'm just conscious of the time, I've used some of the other mini stamps in here, so the little butterfly and the flower and the little trio here, just to create a panel to go in my stepper card, just to sort of create your own pattern paper there, to literally pick up the same colours, the same theme. So that's going in the step, and this one's going to go as my front panel there. So we need a little bit of tape on that one. And then I've used the sentiment from the same kit, which says Best Wishes, the big large sentiment. We're going to use both of them. So that one's going to go on the front, like so. And then I've just stamped out that Best Wishes, and that one's going to go across the bottom here, just so that it coordinates. So using a lot, there are still some extra stamps in there that I haven't used, but I love the fact that they give you, you know, all the bits sort of spare space. They've added another stamp. They could have just put the main Aperture stamp and the sentiment, and that's it. So there is in the centre of there a nice large butterfly, which I did stamp in the same way with the two-tone. But when I actually started playing about with it, I thought, to be honest, I don't know whether it actually needs it. It was too busy to go on here. I didn't want to cut away from here. I don't know whether it actually needs it or not.
I don't think it does.
I think it's just sort of, so I will keep that in the packet and possibly use that on another occasion. But yeah, just that quick dry is perfect for that, because you've got that finished. I don't know how it happens, it just dries instantly.
It does.
And then when you overstamp, there's no chance of contaminating any of your inks or anything like that. Perfect for that particular design.
It is. What a great way to see how you can mix and match the ink pads as well. And what I mean by that is going in with a quick dry, but then using two colours in that one image. Such a great way. It's a way that I'm going to be using it as well when I have a little play over the next few days. And Sharon is the same. I have that stamp and I love the technique. It's nice to see, isn't it? And that is just one of 6 of the Aperture photopolymer stamps. You've got 66 stamps in total. Once again, I will briefly go through them and then we'll do a demo of the show. All of these, £19 or $22. Platinum comes down to £15.20 or $17.60. It does work out a saving of 75%, and it also works out that you're buying 2 and you're getting 4 for free. And I say that quite loosely because if you want to be technical, it works out that you're buying 1 and you're getting 4 and a bit for free. So, or 4 and a bit for free, it does. But all 6 of these ones you are going to be getting. We spent a little bit extra time within Wake Up Call this morning going through the boards. Of course, the images are on the website as well. So if you want a little bit more detail when it comes to what is included within each stamp set, either Wake Up Call or have a look on the website, crafterscompanion.co.uk.com or .eu. Right, we're going to have a look at some Tiffany items, but let's do demo of the show to start with. So we'll get the votes in, and then once we do the boards, we can see if the result will be in by that point. Jan, we here, no, we haven't done incredible demos. You have done incredible demos when it comes to the ink pads within this show, Jan. What have we done?
So we've just got the 3 finished samples because we spent that time discussing the ink pads, and then we did the background and the sentiment on this one. So this was the first one, using those water reactive inks, and then we threw all sorts at the background. You can see that gorgeous spray and sparkle just catching the light, and then that lovely fancy sentiment taking centre stage. So that was number 1. Number 2, we used those beautiful stamps to stamp out the image and then colour with the water reactive inks. And then I've just used a little bit of stenciling to frame it. That's number 2.
Okay.
And then number 3, we've just used the quick dry inks, and we actually created that lovely Aperture stamp with that two-tone effect using the butterflies there. So that one was number 3.
Mm-hmm. It is fascinating to see, out of all the 3 of them that you've got to choose from, sometimes you can be not necessarily a fan of a certain item. For instance, Kate McQueen wasn't a fan of this stamp set till I seen this demo. Sometimes it just needs that spark of inspiration, idea. You might think, I don't know what to do, I don't actually like that one. And then you see a way of it being used and you think, wow, I like it. And that's exactly what's happened with Kate and that one. Loved it. Right, you've literally got a few moments to get the votes in. Rachel will let us know when the result is actually in, and then we will, we'll need to do a demo of the day as well. Yeah, we will do. So yeah, we'll do that in a moment. But let's have a look at our Totally Tiffany. This is our rotating board, and it is also coming with your Nancy tote bag as well. Now, the rotating board, this is our new design from our rotating board. Now, you may be familiar with the original one, which is thick, it's full, it was a wooden one. Now, this one here, you've still got the strength, you've still got the structure, you've still got that feature of the rotating board, but it's more of a thicker plastic. It is going to give you the strength and stability on the back. So your crisscross of the plastic, it isn't just there as a lovely, pretty design, it's there to serve a purpose. It's adding that strength, it's adding that structure as well. But it's what it's also doing is it's making that little bit more environmentally friendly, because instead of it being full of thick plastic, it's just going in with that technology of the crisscross. You've got that rotating feature. It is perfect for your colouring. You do get the bulldog clip as well included, but you do get the Nancy tote bag as well. So this one, not only does it hold the actual rotating board, but even the packaging of the board, it holds just nicely. So that gives you an indication of the size. You've got that zip along the top here. You know the structure, you know the way it's always been well built when it comes to Totally Tiffany. If you want more info on her storage, she is going to be here later on tonight via the realms of technology. But you've got the two of them here, £25 or $30. But if you're platinum, it is going to come down to $20 or £20 or $24 for that one. Right, we've got a result in for that one, demo of the show. That one straight in, number 3. Number 3, Jan.
It's fantastic. There you go, guys. Thank you very much.
So let's do an actually, they're both, Jan,
They're both
from the
Aperture sets, isn't they? Yeah, that's a coincidence.
They are. So very briefly, because it is a masterclass with Tiffany later on in the day, that just means that there's not going to be any demonstrations. So demo of the day, it is going to go to Jan, and it's either between number 1, and this is what Jan done within Wake Up Call. So if you want to see how she made this one, you can always go back. So that's number 1, and then number 2 is what Jan's just done.
Yep, with the butterflies there, that two-tone effect with the set with the inks. So,
gorgeous. Yeah. Absolutely gorgeous. So 1 or 2. So again, you've just got a couple of minutes just to get the votes in, and then we'll see which one is the winner. So that was the rotating design board with the Nancy tote bag. What about some additional tools? Now, you'll have seen Debbie using this the other day. It's very, very versatile in the ways that you can be using a brayer. This one here is from Spectrum Noir, £8.99 or $13.45. You've got a lovely saving of 10% there, £7.19 or $10.76 for that brayer. Lovely, lovely tool to have within your stash. Now, Jan has been showing you throughout Wake Up Call and Colour Me Happy how you can be using your blending tool. This is her preferred one, being the round one. This one is the actual tool, and you're going to get 2 of the foam heads as well. £3.59 or $4.45. That one there is a saving of 10%. Key tool that we use on a daily basis. Don't need to discount it, but we have done, and it comes down even better to £2.87 or $3.56. That one is the round one. And this one here, this one is the square one. It says square, it's actually rectangle, but it's titled the square. This one is a 3-piece as well, because it's the tool and 2 of the foams. $3.59 or $4.45. That one is a saving also of 10%. Platinum comes out at £2.87 or $3.56. Now, maybe you do what Jan does, or you're wanting to do what Jan does, and incidentally what I do as well. I don't have the actual tools for every colour. What I have got, also like Jan, about 12 of them or so, the actual tools, but I've got replacement foam heads for all of my colours. This one here is the blending tool refill. This is for the round one. You're going to get a 10-pack, £3.59 or $4.45. That gives a saving of 10%, or a platinum price down to £2.87 or $3.56. And maybe you do like the square one. Well, we've got the refills for them as well. The blending tool refill, square, 10-piece, also £3.59 or $4.45. Also a saving of 10%. Our platinum price comes down to £2.87 or $3.56. We've also got a craft mat. Also, something that I do the same as Jan is, this is the large one. Do a lot of same things as Jan does. This one is your larger one. I do cut mine down just like Jan does. £8.99 or $13.45. That one is your large one. I believe it's 13 inches by 19. Platinum comes down to $7.19 or $10.76. That one is for your craft mat, heat-proof, non-stick craft mat from Spectrum Noir. We've also got our fine spray misters from Spectrum Noir. Now, this one here is a 4-pack. Now, really good for spritzing your water, but I know when myself and Jan was on last week, Jan, you were saying how you can use other things when it comes to
Yeah, we had those
the actual
lovely Cosmic
spritzers.
Shimmer products on, didn't we, where you can
did.
make your own colour spritzers just by a few drops of those, yeah.
We absolutely did. Well, you're going to get the 4 of them, $4.49 or $6.25. That gives you a saving of 10%. But if you're platinum, it's going to come down to £3.59 or $5 exactly. For all of you guys through Central Europe, please do not worry. You just need to go to your website. So all three are crafterscompanion.co.uk.com or .eu for all of you. Central Europe. Right. I'm glad I was not choosing because I don't know which one it would be. However, the votes are in, Jan, and it went to number 2. Your one that you've got in your hand.
The butterflies, thank you very much. Yeah, it's a really, really quick technique, but it's quite effective with the two-tone in it. And don't be afraid to use the black in there as well. Yeah?
Yes. And key thing
Fabulous.
that you'll have seen from all of what you've shown, Jan, throughout today is effectiveness. The effectiveness when it comes to the ink pads that you've been using.
And the diversity with them as well. They're not just for inking up a stamp and stamping something out. There's so much you can do with them.
Yeah, there really is.
Yeah.
And as you're saying, really useful, you know, very versatile in what you can do. I think I don't need to say any more other than the comments I've been reading out of how much everyone's appreciated what you've shown today, how to use it, the way to use it, verbally as well as actually showing it physically.
Yeah, that was the plan. And as I say, I know we've always got new crafters in the midst. So it's sort of like, yes, for some of you, it may have been repeating what's been done in the past by either myself or my colleagues, but there's always new people out there and just memory refreshing as well.
Really is. Prime example, Lynette saying what many people are saying. I've been totally engrossed in all of the techniques and fabulous demonstrations. Thank you so much, Jan and Craig. I didn't do anything today. Great show, just brilliant. When are we going to see you again?
I'm back next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
With a brand new launch. All I'm going to say is stamping, and
Brill.
then we may just be opening the craft vault again later on that day.
Definitely do not miss. Well, thank you so
Okay.
much. Love working with you, Jan.
Yes, me too. It's
So,
been
so good. We are.
I'm on an early mark, aren't I, tonight?
You are, yeah.
I am.
You are.
I feel guilty of going home at this time of day.
Don't you worry. You get to go home. I will be back. If you are watching live, I'll be back in a couple of hours. It's going to be myself, Charlotte and Nicola, all on our lonesome. Well, I say that. We are going to have, of course, Totally Tiffany coming in all the way from Arizona via technology, where we've got a masterclass when it comes to all things storage. So I'm going to ask you right now, head across to the website, shop the day, but also have a look at that Totally Tiffany organizer banner and see what we've got coming up. Treat yourself and get ahead when it comes to these incredible deals. We will see you live in a couple of hours. Bye.